Jordy Nelson in a Packers uniform. What would that even look like? Oh, yeah. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Podcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Tom Grossi, and, I was going to do a different episode today. I was going to talk about Clinton Dix coming to the Bears. I was going to talk about potentially signing Eric Berry. That was going to be the whole point of this episode. That's what I was going to discuss. But then, like a tsunami, the messages kept coming. Over and over and over again. Tom, did you know that the Raiders released Jordy Nelson? Tom, do you think that we should re-sign Jordy Nelson? Tom, wouldn't it be amazing if Jordy Nelson was on the Packers? Tom, just think about how Aaron Rodgers would feel if Jordy Nelson was back on the Packers. Tom, wouldn't it be amazing if Jordy Nelson was back on the Packers? Tom, So I don't know if you've heard, but the Raiders released Jordy Nelson. Before we get into that, though, you could check out the Packcast shirt. We got merch, baby. It comes in t-shirts, long-sleeve shirts, jerseys, women's tees, and, of course, the hoodie. I ordered myself 2 today. And thank you to everybody out there in the Grossi Posse Packer Nation who ordered one already. They will be available just for about 2 more weeks, and then they are going away for a bit. So a big thank you for all the support. If you would like to pick up one, you could check it out at bonfire.com/Packcast. The link will be in the description. As always, thank you to Patreon members. I love you and your wonderful faces. Check out patreon.com/Tom Grossi Comedy for some cool rewards if you would like to support me. Now, let's get to it. Let's do it. Let's jump into it. Okay, first thing about Jordy Nelson. I want to make it very clear. I love Jordy Nelson. Great guy, great football player when he was with the Packers. Love him. Love him. When he left, I was very sad. I missed the fact that him and Aaron Rodgers couldn't spin their footballs in the end zone. That made me a very sad panda. I was very upset about that. Rodgers just standing alone in the end zone, just flicking his own balls, no one to flick with him. So I get it. So before you come at me and say, well, Tom, Jordy Nelson, he's the heart and soul of the Packers. I get it. I really get it. And I understand how many people loved Jordy Nelson because I am still in that boat. I love Jordy Nelson. There's a really important number that we should look at first. And that is, in May, Jordy Nelson will be 34 years old. Okay? That's the first number that we should look at. Currently on our roster, which these are our current wide receivers. We still have Randall Cobb. I don't think he's going to stay there, but we have him. Davante Adams, Equanimeous St. Brown, Kumaro, which everyone loves, Geronimo Allison, MVS, Jamon Moore, Trevor Davis for a hot second. So, again, we have plenty of wide receivers. And now, listen, guys like Jamon Moore, we want to see him improve, but a little rough. I think EQ or ESB, Equanimeous St. Brown, is on track for improving, right? MVS, I would love to see what Scantling can do with his second year. Geronimo Allison was having a great year before he got plagued by injury and taken out last season. And of course, who doesn't love Kumaro? And we also have Davante Adams. So we already have a lot of wide receivers. Right? But I'm sure your argument will be, but Tom, the chemistry between Aaron Rodgers and the wide receivers last year was off. It wasn't good. You had a bunch of young guys in which you only had Davante Adams, who was a real veteran of that team because Randall Cobb was injured for most of the year. So you had Davante Adams being the only guy, and it showed, obviously, because he was super duper productive. And he was also super productive when Aaron Rodgers fell to injury. We'll get to that in a second. And then the other guys, they struggled. They showed some flashes here and there, especially Scantling and Kumaro when he was able to play, and EQ and Allison in the beginning. They showed those flashes, right? And that's great, and that's wonderful. Now, quick question. This is kind of like when you graduate from college, right? And you apply to jobs, and you get turned down from jobs. And the reason that they turn you down is because of lack of experience. And then you, as a recently graduated person from college, go, how the hell am I supposed to get experience if no one's going to hire me? It's kind of the same exact thing with these wide receivers, and that they're not going to be able to develop the chemistry if you let them go. And 1 year, I don't think is enough. So I'll ask you right off the bat, before we even talk about signing Jordy Nelson, who are you willing to get rid of? Jamon Moore obviously struggled the most. Are you ready? Are you able to just get rid of him? Say, hey, I saw him for a year, not worth the draft pick, bring back Jordy. If so, then that's your prerogative. I think you give him at least 1 more year. That's just my opinion. But let's go back and look at the numbers, right? So Jordy Nelson, catastrophic injury, preseason 2015, out the whole year. People are wondering, is he going to be able to bounce back to be the real Jordy? And the answer to that was yes. 2016, 97 receptions, over 1,200 yards, 14 touchdowns. No questions there, right? Obviously showed he could still play at a high level. Now, let's look at 2017. People are going to point to 2017 and say he disappeared when Aaron Rodgers got injured, and they are 100% correct. He did. So, for example, the first 5 games, Jordy Nelson in 2017 had 19 receptions, 230 yards, and 6 touchdowns, right? So he had a lot of touchdowns, obviously a big red zone threat, right? Always that sideline catcher. And then after he left, that was it. After the Minnesota game, he did not have a game over 35 yards. Literally disappeared off the map, while Davante Adams was still able to catch balls from the gum-chewing Brett Hundley. So here's the thing. That won't be enough for you because you'll say, hey, Tom, it doesn't matter what he did with Brett Hundley because it's that chemistry with Rodgers, which is why I want him back. And I understand that. I really, truly do. I get it. In the fairy tale world, or where everything is beautiful and there's rainbows and sunshine, Jordy Nelson decides to come back for 1 more year on a super cheap contract, plays 1 more year with a healthy Roger, puts up amazing numbers, they go to the Super Bowl, and he rides off into the sunset. And listen, if you could guarantee me that, I'll take that any day of the week. I truly get it. I really, really do. But this is why we signed Davante Adams to a lengthy contract, and we had to let Jordy go. We kept Cobb because he was younger. He was a little bit less expensive. We kept him because he was younger, and he's most likely going to leave too. The NFL itself is a brutal business, and it's a brutal game. And in a lot of these scenarios, especially when you're a franchise quarterback, you're going to see a lot of friends leave. You saw the image last season during the last game of Aaron Rodgers and Randall Cobb embracing, tears flowing. Really emotional image, right? Aaron Rodgers has voiced himself how he wasn't happy about Jordy leaving. It's his friend, right? They've obviously developed a ton of chemistry. They've had a lot of success together, and that translates off the field and on the field. So I get that 100%. Jordy Nelson in 2018 goes and signs with the Raiders. His season, 63 receptions, 739 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had 1 breakout game of 173 yards, and he had a total of 5 games over 75 yards. And that 173-yard game was his only game that was over 100 yards that season. Really not effective. And the way that I also want to look at that is, yes, obviously you have a different quarterback throwing to him, but that's basically with 0 options at wide receiver for the Raiders. And Nelson still couldn't get open. and still couldn't be productive. So, I mean, you look at Jared Cook, who's putting up ridiculous numbers under Carr, and Jordy, if we want him to be this high caliber player, has an opportunity to be so again and again. Different quarterback, different team, different scenario, but his opportunity is there. So the only thing that in actuality we have going for us, and the reason we want Jordy back, is the potential that with a healthy Aaron Rodgers, we are going to get a healthy, productive Jordy Nelson. But again, this is also a different team. It's a new head coach, new offensive coordinator, and I'm not saying that chemistry wouldn't be there, but Jordy's age isn't helping anything. His productivity in the past 2 years are not helping anything. So we have to go back to the first 5 games of 2017 to find any productivity there and say that's what we need. That's the kind of player that we need to have in Jordy Nelson to re-sign him and to take a spot from a potential young, up-and-coming wide receiver. In my opinion, that is a lot to ask for. And I think the reward is so far outweighed by the risk here. And that you are cutting a potential solid to good to potentially great wide receiver, giving them another year to step up their game, to sign a 34-year-old veteran whose last productivity with this quarterback was the first 5 games of 2017. It's a lot. I would love to see Jordy Nelson back as a Packers. If I'm looking at this purely from a fan standpoint, I want him back. I miss seeing him on the field. I miss seeing him at Lambeau. I miss the connection that he has with Rodgers. I miss those sideline grabs of dragging the feet or those over-the-shoulder turnaround touchdowns in the back of the end zone. I miss that because Jordy Nelson, to me, is a reminder of how high-powered that offense was and how great that offense used to be. And I feel like we're hoping that maybe he can bring that spark back, right? That maybe we can get a piece of that back, of the old Green Bay Packers, of the old Aaron Rodgers, because even though he was still great last year, we still criticized him because he wasn't Aaron Rodgers. So we're saying, hey, let's bring back his friend. Let's bring back his trusted target in Jordy Nelson, and maybe we can get the old Aaron Rodgers back too. But what I'm telling you, beyond just being a fan, is that you kind of have to look past that. Because I got to be completely honest, old Aaron Rodgers was great, and I love the guy, and I love old Jordy Nelson, and Randall Cobb, and Donald Driver, and Greg Jennings, and James Jones. I love it. I do. But we also need a team that's not just going to be about Aaron Rodgers and Jordy Nelson. We need a team that's beyond just Aaron Rodgers. We need a team that has a good defense. We need a team that has a solid running game. And I hope that Matt LaFleur can bring that to the Green Bay Packers. But I think instead of looking to the past and hoping that we can just get a piece of that high-powered offense or a piece, get that nostalgia and be like, yes, let's just return to glory just one more time. We need to look to the future and focus on the guys that we have, and maybe we draft another young wide receiver in the draft. But I don't think the answer to our offensive woes is Jordy Nelson. And that hurts, and it doesn't feel good to say that, and my heart says that's wrong. But just looking at it on paper, looking at it on the stat sheets, it just doesn't make rational sense. Could it happen? Sure. But unfortunately, I don't think it's going to. I hope that he signs with the Packers like John Kuhn did, right? Give him $1 for a day, and he should retire as a Green Bay Packer. We should honor the legacy and the career that he has had, put him in the Packers Hall of Fame, and let's focus on making some more Hall of Fame players that we have on the roster right now. That's how we get better. That's my opinion, though. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com, TomGrossi Comedy, or at Tom Grossi Comedy on all the social medias and, of course, Patreon as well. And check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, and, of course, here on the YouTubes. So I'll do the Clinton Dixon Eric Berry thing tomorrow when it's not 11:30 at night. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.